What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of What the Game Means to Me. I'm one half of the pod, of course, Jelani Brown. Got my co-host with me again today. Daddy's Bell. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good, bro. Glad to be back. Not very interesting wild card weekend, but we got to talk about it in the divisional round. Hopefully, it'll be better. But let's get to it.
For sure. Like you said, definitely gonna recap Wild Card Weekend. Probably short. Like you said, it's probably only two decently entertaining games. But we'll hit on our something or nothing topics dealing with those certain teams that got the boot this week. But of course, we'll hit on the divisional rounds this upcoming week. It should be a lot more competitive games. And also do something or nothing topics about that as well. And then look and see how we're doing in the pick'ems for sure. But for that, we'll drop the tape.
Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
Don't you open your mouth about the best, or I'm gonna shut it for you real quick. LOB.
Listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Lewis gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer.
Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
What was your mindset when you stepped in the batter's box?
Go yard. I mean, I'm a pitcher. Why not swing as hard as I can? I got nothing to lose.
It's nothing to man above. Don't put you in situations that you can't handle. Instead of saying, why me? They're saying this is what he want me to do. And Cleveland, this is for you.
The way we approach the game is the same way we approach life. You do the right thing. You make the right play. Make the right play. And in life, it's the same thing. What do you feel in your heart is the right thing to do? And you do that. It seems so simple, but sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things to do. And I think it's just that.
Welcome to
What?
The game.
Me.
To me.
All right. And we are back. And like I said before, we went on the break. Of course, we're going to go into Wild Card Weekend. We said it wasn't that entertaining of a weekend, but of course, we got hit on it. First game, we'll start with the AFC. We'll start with the AFC games this week. And I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. We'll start off with probably one of the more entertaining games, if not the most entertaining game of the weekend. Bengals versus the Raiders. Of course, we know the Bengals came out on top. I think that I picked the Raiders to win. Unfortunately, they kind of sold me. But it was a pretty good game, pretty good back and forth game. We had a few controversial calls. I know one, of course, with Boyd scoring the TD on an inverted whistle. And a few other plays that came down to pretty much the end. Derek Carr threw an interception in the red zone with about 13, 14 seconds left. And the Bengals sealed the win. But Dad, what you think about this game overall? And how do you see the Bengals faring in their next matchup? Or what do you think they bring, I guess, in their next matchup?
This was one of the better games of the wild card weekend, like you said. Very winnable by both sides. I feel like the early struggles that the Raiders had on early, hampered them. The fumble caused by Trey Hendrickson, and then just the lack of urgency on offense. They came out kind of slow, and they weren't even playing that bad on defense. They got some stops, forced the Bengals to some field goals because the Bengals could have pulled away with this game very, very early, but the Raiders defense held them in it, and kind of feel like they got away from the run game. One of their better drives in the first half, they gave the ball to Jacobs like 4 times, and they were getting a lot of movement, and they just went away from it, and they ended up throwing the ball 54 times, which I don't understand why, but it is what it is. But the connection of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase looked like it was they kind of just picked and choose when they wanted to throw the ball to each other, no matter the coverage or who they put on them. And I just feel like Joe Burrow was able to make enough plays. The Raiders showed a lot of fight. If they started off hot and they didn't start off slow, they could have easily won this game. But it still ended up coming down to the final play. Like you said, one of the better games overall. And I just feel like the Bengals can protect Joe Burrow and they can play defense, force Ryan Tannehill into some turnovers. They have a shot, but they're going to have to put up points. The Titans are coming back to full force. They're most likely going to get Derrick Henry back. They got Julio back off COVID and injuries and stuff, hamstrings and etc. But to beat the Titans, you got to put up points. You're gonna their defense is, that you can pick them apart. They have some young corners out there. They're just solid, but they I don't think they can hang with Jamar Chase. One of them a former teammate, Christian Fulton. So we'll see how they match up. I know they've been going at it for practicing for years, but the only chance the Bengals have is if they put up at least 35. I think. I know it could be one of those low-scoring games, but I just feel like their defense is okay, but
they're not stopping anybody.
Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Julio Jones. That's that's tough. And they're well rested. They had a bye, so it's going to be a good matchup. But I'm interested to see how they fare on defense and if they can get some stops. That's really the key to all this. Because I know Joe Burrow and them going to show up, but you're going to have to put up a lot of points to hang with the Titans.
Yeah, I feel that as well. Like you said, they're coming back to full force. That's the number one thing. Like you said, even both sides of the ball, honestly, for defensively, they're not world beaters. And their offense is probably the stronger suit of the team. So it's definitely going to be an interesting, like I said, battle. That part of it. It's like it's pretty much going to come down like who can get a key stop, whether it's in the middle of the game or at the end of the game. So definitely looking forward to that for sure. But like I said, the Bengals kind of proved me wrong. I thought they had a great season, was able to fight, make it to the playoffs. I mean, the Raiders did the same thing through all the adversity that they faced that we've been talking about throughout the entire year. Henry Ruggs situation, Gruden being let go, John Madden passing away, just a bunch of things that they were dealing with for them to even fight to make it to the playoffs. I don't know. So it was just something in me that wanted them to win this game. But like you said, they went away from the run. When they did start to throw the ball, they had some key drops. They weren't able to contain Chase, Joe Burrow, and the other guys in that offense. So, unfortunately, and they still had a chance at the end to win, but unfortunately, Derek Carr tried to squeeze in that throw and ended up getting picked off. But they had a hell of a season for sure. But kind of brings me to my something or nothing point of the day with the Raiders. Really, is a few something or nothings with this game. But first thing I kind of wanted to hit on was them letting Mike Mayock go after 3 seasons as the general manager. You would think it had been rumblings, of course, like him and Gruden, through their years, their tenders, possibly one or if not both go. But after making the playoffs, after such a year where they faced so much adversity, I didn't foresee it happening. I guess literally the day after they got bounced from the playoffs, but they part ways with them. So something or nothing, them letting their GM go, and now on the search with this as well. I did see something about them possibly wanting to bring in Jim Harbaugh. So do you think that's something or nothing as well?
It's kind of something, but it's nothing. Like I'm surprised, but I'm not at the same time. I think he was okay as a GM. Some of his later round picks were better than his, the ones he was really supposed to hit on, his first round picks. He missed on Cleveland Farrell. He's okay, but not what we thought he would be. Henry Ruggs, the situation was rough there. He was looking like a hit, but couldn't get right. Damon Arnett, they had to let him go. He was a first round pick, one of the guys he drafted. And this year, I think, was one of his worst first round picks. For a lot of people, they had Alex Leatherwood as a second round, a day 2 guy, and they took him, in the first round, and he hasn't panned out as well. So the first round picks, I know hitting on later round picks is also a good thing, but when you miss on these guys that are right here for the taking, like a lot of when you pass on people like Josh Allen and we end up getting them, we'll take them, but you can't do that time and time again. And I know he'd only had 3 or 4 years as a GM, but those are 3 first round picks right there that you missed on. So
exactly,
it's a business at the end of the day. I didn't think he did a terrible job, but it is what it is. He might get another opportunity, a little more stable organization at the time to be in. So, we'll see if he gets another shot.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. But yeah, hopefully Jelani can get back in here. But Mike Mayock, that situation is very, very tough. John Gruden got fired in the middle of the season, sadly. It wasn't very stable. I don't know how much say-so he had as well with everything going on, but it is what it is. John Gruden, I just wish. I feel like he made most of the decisions. We don't know if Damon Arnett or Cleveland Farrell or Alex Leatherwood were his picks, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
I
don't know what happened.
I was just talking about how Mike Mayock, like I know he got fired, but we don't know how much say-so he had in the picks. Did John Gruden have more say-so than him? So Hopefully, in his next stop, he has more control, but we'll see.
Yeah. That's a good point. I was about to say, it's really, like I said, those first round picks that, he really did hit on. He said later round ones did prove to be a little bit better. But yeah, like you said, unfortunately, I feel like he probably does get an opportunity maybe somewhere else, maybe in a few years. But, it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in to replace him. And like I said, coaching-wise, obviously they're looking for a new coach. They said a lot of people expect them, of course, to give the interim a fair shot as well. But like I said, with Jim Harbaugh, his name's being connected to a bunch of NFL teams for some odd reason, or just making that jump back to the NFL and as a whole. But do you think this would be the right spot for him? Is it something nothing that they even talking about him bringing his name up and possibly bringing him to Vegas, or nah?
I think it's something like a lot of people talked about. He potentially thinks, people have said it, and he might think that he's reached his ceiling at Michigan. So he left the NFL. He didn't have to leave. He honestly had a lot of success. Going to Super Bowl in your first 4 years is pretty, that's something you could brag about a little bit. So he was good. He built the 49ers up very, very quickly. And, hey, man, why not? If you feel like you reached your ceiling, because how Ohio State's going to whoop on you for the next couple of years. So, might as well get out right after you got a dub. And, there's a lot of options this year. How many open spots? I think there's 8 open head coaching opportunities right now. So,
yeah, Miami, Raiders, y'all.
A lot of teams with, some franchise quarterbacks in place and some young talent. So, he can pick and choose. And Derek Carr is a solid quarterback who I feel like has proved people wrong for years and years. So, why not?
Yeah. I say what they too. Like you said, I think this is probably one of the more or most successful seasons for him at Michigan. Might as well make the jump now. Like I said, you did all you could because, like you said, Ohio State's come back strong. Penn State probably will as well. Michigan State maybe as well. Like Big Ten isn't no slouch conference. They really haven't ever been, but nowadays they've been doing some good recruiting. Like I said, a lot of teams. We know Ohio State's kind of the top of the pecking order. Michigan this year kind of dethroned them, but I think he'd probably be looking to make the jump as well. It'd be interesting to see if he does take one of these 8 positions that are open. But next, gonna move on. Gonna hit on Steelers Chiefs. It looked like it was going to be something early. Like when I was first watching, I think I went and did something. I came back and the score was like, I don't even know what it was, like 28-7, or it was something crazy. I remember it was tied though, but all I know is I walked away, came back, and score just was not what it was before. I thought they actually had a chance because it was at the end of the first, went like through the first quarter, it was tied 7-7, wasn't it?
It was 0-0. The Steelers scored 0-0.
Yeah. And then, like I said, it just got out of hand from there. But kind of what we expected. The Steelers weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. But it was a tall task to ask them to dethrone the AFC Conference Championships anyway. But what do you think about this matchup? Then we'll talk about Big Ben a little bit later, him retiring. But what do you think about this game as a whole?
Watching the game, it was a defensive game at first. Chiefs were having 3 and outs, Steelers having 3 and outs. But I just had a feeling, I believe in the Chiefs. And it was only a matter of time before the Steelers defense got tired and the Chiefs offense got going. So, they got out to 7-0 lead off of TJ Watt scoop and score. Mm-hmm. And then the Chiefs offense kind of settled down. They took off. And I'd say, the game could have been a little closer, but that sequence at the end of the second half, like the last 5 minutes for the Steelers was really, really bad. And that's what caused the Chiefs to, score 21 unanswered after a touchdown. And it was 21-7 going into half when it could have potentially been 14-7 or 14-10. And then from there, Mahomes was rolling, Travis Kelce was rolling, and, they just couldn't keep up. We know maybe, Big Ben in the past, 2015, 2016, when he had Juju and AB and Le'Veon, but this is not the same guy. He can't throw you back in the ball games anymore. So, he needs to have a sizable lead or have a comfortable lead, surrounded by the run game, and he doesn't have that. And being down a lot to the Chiefs and Arrowhead, you got to score every single drive, and having that pressure, they couldn't, just couldn't deal with it, and then they pulled away, which we all expected.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, they try to put some touchdowns together towards the end. I was hoping just for one last hurrah to get that touchdown at the end of the game, but just didn't work out that way. Too slow getting to the line. It's not enough time. But I think they did as good of they did what we expected them to do, or did as good as what we expected them to do. Like you said, like them even having a 7-0 lead in the first place, especially after the first quarter, wasn't really what we expected from them to begin. But like you said, Chiefs kind of just settled in and just show why they are just a dangerous team, especially when it comes to playoff time. So wasn't much, to talk about after the second half for sure. But, all in all, definitely want to talk about it a little bit. I know we all knew it was coming. Ben saw it coming. We said it should have happened last year. But is it something or nothing that Big Ben, said he's retiring, he's going to retire. We expect him to retire. Don't think any changes will happen, him coming back or anything. If so, I feel like that hurts the Steelers more than it helps them, and probably him as well. But something or nothing, Big Ben retiring.
Nothing. He knew at the beginning of the year this was his last year. We all knew. It's nothing. He saw the decline in his play. It was evident. Everybody saw it. There's nobody that can say, "Oh, Big Ben hasn't got worse. He's still the same guy." So, yeah. And with the receiving core he has right now, 3 years ago he would have, they would have been a better team. They would have been way more of a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing.
Yeah, same here. I would say it's nothing as well. But I don't have it up, but I did see something about Mike Tomlin liking Dwayne Haskins a little bit more for that backup spot coming into this the upcoming year, when training camp and everything kicks back off. So do you think that's something or nothing? Dwayne Haskins filling in Big Ben's shoe and maybe coming in and giving this team a little bit more success.
Me being optimistic, I'll say it's something, him having I'll give him one more shot. Coming into the draft, I was high on him, but Washington was pretty disappointing, and I would have liked to see him be the backup this year. Maybe they were trying to hide him in case Big Ben got hurt. I'm just thinking of scenarios, but I would like to see him win the number 2 job over Mason Rudolph and not be the practice squad quarterback. So I don't know what that's saying, but we'll see. I do want to see him get another opportunity though, but I'm pretty sure the Steelers are not going to, depend on Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Even though they would like to give him a shot going into camp, that they're going to get a quarterback in the draft or free agency. So
yeah,
we'll see.
And maybe some free agency because everybody's been saying this is probably one of the worst years if you need a quarterback to have to try to get a quarterback. So maybe they do fill-in year. Maybe I don't know. Like get a second stringer from a different team. I don't know. I know Marcus Mariota's name's been out there. I don't really know how well he fit the system. And a few other guys, maybe they make a trade. We say Derek Carr's name's been circulating, Russell Wilson, a bunch of people. So who knows? I mean, obviously those two, they wouldn't really be fill-ins, but it definitely be you're going to start quarterback for the next at least 3 or 4 years. So who knows? But like I said, I'm with you with the nothing. I'm also on the nothing train for Dwayne Haskins too, because if you can't get a starting or you can't get the second position behind Mason Rudolph, then it's not too much hope, but who knows? Maybe you turn things around in training camp this upcoming year. But next, we'll move on. Talk about another game. Thought it was going to be highly competitive. Bills just ended up coming out and just torching Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Something we didn't expect. They did have two pretty good games, 2 pretty close games in their matchups during the regular season. But Bills and Bills Mafia, they were just on a different time in this past week. But what do you think about this matchup, Dad?
Man, I just expected, these are division rivals. Bill Belichick, defensive mastermind. This their 3rd time playing. They got a lot of film to look at. But it was a butt whooping, honestly. Them not punting the ball. Josh Allen only had 66 yards, but it seemed like way more. Like every time he ran the ball, they were gashing him. He's a big dude. He's a playmaker. One of the top 3 talented quarterbacks we have in this league, if not one, if you think about all the attributes he has. But he was just, unstoppable. He was on his A game all night. They didn't stop him. He made great decisions, knew when to throw the ball away, knew when to, live to see another down, and just made countless plays because of his size and strength. Like that first touchdown, Van Noy just kind of shrugged him off of him and just, flipped it to the back of the end zone. And you don't see that from most quarterbacks, but when you're 6'5", 240, and he's not shying away from contact. Like I truly feel like some of the safeties out there, McCourty and, Kyle Duggar, they were hesitant to hit him as big as they are, as long as they've been playing in this league. When the guy's coming at you like that downhill, kind of had them second guessing. But he played a flawless game. Mac Jones, I didn't think there was a way that he was going to go in there for his first playoff game and, win in those conditions. Mm-hmm. But I was proven correct, and the Bills look scary, man. I really don't know who I'm going to pick yet. I have an idea, but, it's going to be one of the best matchups of the year versus Kansas City this week because Buffalo looked great. And, they lost Tre'Davious White, but Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer holding down that secondary.
I'm gonna say that they had stepped up big time. They're already big time players, but they stepped up big time, especially that one play where it could have easily been a touchdown that Mac Jones threw. It was a pretty good ball, but I think it was Hyde that got to it. Made
The pick in the end zone. Yeah. That's a play a lot of safeties do not make. You have to get from hash to hash. I mean, from hash to the sideline. So that was a big time play.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, just Josh Allen. He played a flawless games. Like the last two matches they've had against New England, he's risen to the challenge and stepped up. And like I said, that the game on Saturday just just another flawless performance by him. Like I said, with Bill Belichick, you don't really ever expect to see a Bill Belichick team get 47 put up on them, like at all. So like I said, it's definitely scary. And then they're going against, a Kansas City defense that has been playing obviously better as of late in the second half of this year, but they're obviously a defense that can be had. And they had, I don't remember, but I think close to one or two number of points put up on them in the beginning of the year. So it could be another scary sight. Like I said, the Bills are clicking on all cylinders like they are. And another thing is too, like obviously Josh Allen has been kind of like their running back. They're giving Singletary the ball a little bit more, Zach Moss as well. Like they're giving their backfield a little bit more opportunity to start running the ball. So that helps them become a little bit more balanced than what they were last year. I think they've learned a little bit from what, they were last year, because all we knew was, if they're going to run the ball, it's going to be Josh Allen running the ball, whether it's a design or him trying to extend the play. But this year they're looking a little bit more balanced, and that can be scary. Like you said, the defense is definitely stepping up, even with some key guys out, like Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, man, that was smart. Like we've been talking about it all season, how they have to run the ball. Your quarterback can't be your leading rusher and your running back. They finally gave him the ball to him. They gave it to him 16 times for 81 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. Why not? When you have the defense on your heels like that, and then you have a playmaker like that at quarterback, it's tough to stop because you got to account for all 11 people. I mean, you can't. You have to account for everybody, all the athletes, not just the 4 receivers and the running back, or maybe the 3 receivers and the tight end. You got to account for the quarterback too. So makes the Buffalo Bills just that dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Like I said, I really don't know who I'm gonna pick either. I have a little bit of idea, like you said, but I'm still a little clueless until we get to that segment of the show. But nothing real something and nothing for them. But obviously, the game that I think both of you and I have been looking forward to talking about, in the chat when it happened, blew up. I always love that part of the day. When people start to go at it. Shout out Bar, shout out Mo. But Dallas taking the L to the 49ers. Something I expected to happen. Both of us picked the 49ers. But what did you think about this game? What did you think about Dallas's performance?
Going into the game, everybody liked San Francisco for the most part. They're just the way they play football is tough to stop in the playoffs. And I honestly feel like this game, this is why I don't like Cowboys fans. They made all the excuses about the refs, the flags, the last play. Like the game wasn't even supposed to be that close. There was a play where Jimmy G not letting Trent Williams get set. You always know that your linemen have to get set for at least a second. That was a boneheaded play by him. And just the amount of field goals that the 49ers settled for at the beginning in the first half, like they could have scored so many touchdowns and just piled it on. And it was like they were just playing with their food, and they let Dallas hang around. They showed some fight, but they were obviously not even close to being a better team on this day, and the game shouldn't have been close. It was just a pure domination. Jimmy G, as much credit as I've given him in some games down the stretch, he was going to be the reason they lost the game if they lost. Like him making some of the boneheaded decisions with the false start, throwing that pick when he could have just thrown it away. Just dangerous throws or careless throws when, you got Deebo Samuel you can hand the ball off to, or your rookie running back, or George Kittle who didn't get that many targets because Javon Curse played a really, really game. J-Ron Curse played a really, really good game. But just a complete domination, in my opinion. The score doesn't reflect, what really happened out there, in my opinion. 49ers are clearly the better team, and, it showed in almost every aspect. And Dak is – I don't know if you remember this, but we had an argument in the chat at the beginning of the year talking about some people saying that Dak Prescott was the top 5 quarterback. I clearly never thought that, but I might not put him in the top 10, as of now, because – all those weapons you have, I think you have to, play a little bit better in a spotlight game like this. And you're making the most out of any quarterback this year, $75 million, and you just got overpaid. So, I don't think it's the best look. But I'm glad to see the Cowboys go home. How'd you feel about it?
Same here. Like I said, we love to see when Cowboys have zero success, and something we're about to talk about in a second with the something or nothing as well. But they came in high and mighty. They had them a good year. Obviously, they played the champs close, and even in a loss after that first week, we was hearing, how Dallas was different this year. Obviously, I guess in a way they proved that sort of kind of, with their record. I forgot what they ended up being. 14 and 3. No. 13-4, I believe. Yeah, 13-4.
12-5 or something.
12-5. Yeah,
yeah,
somewhere in there. But and then I guess regaining obviously the NFC East or NFC least title, divisional title. But a lot of people, Cowboy Nation, expected them to make a pretty deep playoff run. At least not get bounced in the wild card weekend. But we knew better than that. We know the type of team that they are. Shout out to Shout out to ex Falcons coach Dan Quinn for that defense. That was the big thing that was talked about, because I know we had said it a few times in the show that the weeks that Dak and the offense were struggling, defense carried them, and vice versa. But this week, neither one of them carried the other. So 49ers were able to put up points, do kind of like whatever they wanted to do. They did let them back in the door a little bit towards the end of the game, but and on the other side of the ball, Dallas, with all those weapons, just couldn't take advantage of, the 49ers defense. But obviously, the 49ers defense being more healthy, we kind of expected, the pressure that they were getting on Dak, and, secondary isn't a slouch either. But like you said, just glad to see Dallas go home. Overall, it was an entertaining game. I watched it on Nick because I wanted I just wanted to entertainment, the funness of it with Dallas losing. I wanted to, feel like a kid again. But it was definitely good, like a little matchup. Ended kind of weird, obviously, with the slide. Like, what did you think about that play? What did you think about them running a little quarterback draw with about 15 seconds left, whatever the case may be?
Honestly, we can blame, if we're going there, if we're just talking about that specific play, I kind of blame the refs and I blame the Cowboys for the awareness, situational awareness. I know they practice this in the league, and I heard a lot of former coaches say, like, you need at least 16 seconds. And I think it was only 14 seconds at the time. But in my opinion, it looked fine. Like, they got down. He slid. The guy laid on him from the 49ers, which you're supposed to do. And then I feel like the ref, like, in that situation, you got to be on your horses. Like, you can't be kind of late into the play. And then you bumped into Dak. And I feel like if he didn't bump into Dak and he's there, like, when he gets up to spot the ball, because, the ref officially has to spot the ball. He might have a second left to throw a Hail Mary from, like, a 25 or 30. But, I mean, you can blame both sides, because I feel like the Cowboys could have made it work, but they were playing with fire because it was only 14 seconds left, and the ref could have done a better job of, being there a little quicker. But no excuses. You shouldn't have been in this game. You should thank Jimmy G for allowing y'all to be in this game. And the 49ers offense as a whole in the first half for not finishing drives.
Yeah, because they got close a lot, but weren't able to just punch it in. But like you said, it shouldn't even came down to that. It was kind of weird seeing it happen. I was like, oh shit, like he's really running. Like I didn't know if I know it was kind of like, I know it was a probably pre-designed play, but I was like, is he about to try to get to the end zone? Because we obviously know Dak isn't the fastest of athletes. He's not, the speediest of quarterbacks. So I was like, ain't no way he's going to make it all the way to the end zone. So I'm like, he got to eventually get down soon. So he eventually did, but I was like, there's no way everybody's getting up to the ball in time from the clock. Like you say, it was kind of on the rest as well. Then maybe they were surprised. Maybe they didn't expect that to be the play call that was going to be ran. So like you said, they was kind of lazy about getting to their spots and getting the ball set and everything. But, all in all, shouldn't have came down to that play anyway. Like you said, it really wouldn't have been that situation. The 49ers finished off drives like they were supposed to. But something or nothing, we talked about a little bit before the show came on, or before we start the show. But, obviously when the Cowboys were going to lose, Twitter was going to go off. Stephen A was going to go off. Shannon Sharp was going to go off. And, we've seen a few posts coming around. Dallas hasn't won but two playoff wins, or has only 2 playoff wins in the last 25 years. Some things that's happened before that. I know your team has had more playoff wins since, being in the league, getting introduced in the league, and that was in 1995. So something or nothing, Dallas, only having 2 playoff wins, or, not being able to find success in the playoffs. What do you think about it?
It's funny to me because, all these people that are fans of the Cowboys now that are like our age, they just, the Cowboys are this, the Cowboys are that. Like, you weren't even around for their success. Like, all I know is the Cowboys being sorry. Tony Romo, I liked him as a quarterback. I liked Dez for a little bit. Some of the players they had, but they're not good. I don't know where all the hype is. America's team, all right, you guys did get 3 Super Bowls in the 90s, but
yeah,
because I've been alive, y'all ain't been, what? I ain't even going to say it, but yeah, they suck. They're overrated. I don't know why everybody loves them so much. Same way I feel about I wouldn't even say that about the Yankees. The Lakers win too, though. But everybody want to be a Yankees, Lakers, and Cowboys fan. The Cowboys are overrated. They're not. They ain't done nothing. So yeah, that's what I got to say. It's something though. Yeah, they suck. Jerry Jones probably started off really, really early. He's in the Hall of Fame, so let's get that straight. But started off his career really high, and they just haven't had success since. He's getting older, so I know he's trying to get them wins. Mm-hmm. But I don't think a Super Bowl's coming right now. This would be a hot take for me, but I think they would have to upgrade at the quarterback position to get to that point. I don't think Dak can win the Super Bowl, but some other quarterbacks have. So maybe their defense steps up and the running game, comes alive again. But I don't know, and they're stuck with them. So
yeah,
Cowboys, it's definitely something.
Yeah, I'd say it's something as well. It's just how much money they put into their guys, their players. Like Zeke got nice little payday. I think Randy Gregory got a nice little payday. Obviously, they paid Zach. Guys are getting paid. It's it seems like they got talent, but it's just they can never put it together. I don't know. Like you said, it's just weird. I feel like this year is probably one of their most talented teams that they've had, in the past few years, and it's just they just can't put the success together. It's just weird, but I'm not batting an eye at it. I'm fine with it. They can have their NFC East or at least divisional titles, but playoffs, when it comes that time, you already know what they're gonna do. And that's not be in the next round, whether they're in the wild card or in the divisional or starting off. They're just not moving on. But like you said, I don't know what it's going to take for them, but I don't think we're going to see a Super Bowl. I don't think rest his soul, whenever it does happen, I don't think Jerry Jones is going to see a Super Bowl in his lifetime. Maybe his kids, when obviously the team gets passed down to them, possibly maybe, but we don't even know how long that's going to be. But Jerry Jones is looking like a done deal. This might have been the best chance, best opportunity, best team that possibly could have happened, but no, not right now or not in the next few years. But we'll move on. Next NFC wild card matchup, we had the Bucs play Philly. I don't know. I don't think people expected it to be close. It wasn't close, obviously, but I don't know if people expected it to be close just because Brady has a few of his weapons out. And all the drama that they had, to end the season. But, Brady and company did what they need to do, handled their business. This one was pretty much over from, I want to say the first snap, but for sure the first quarter. Jalen Hurts didn't look that great, but obviously neither side of the ball for the Eagles looked that great. But what did you think about this matchup, Bucs versus Philly?
Pretty much a dominating game from start to finish. Honestly, the Eagles were not that bad, but offensively, they just weren't capable of doing much. Todd Bowles kind of, I guess from what he saw on film, he felt like the Eagles couldn't beat them over the top, and the way they played them, it was not a little disrespectful, but they have nice receivers, but he felt like the quarterback wasn't capable of getting them the ball downfield. So they played an aggressive style. The Eagles just couldn't get stuff going. Their defense was showing up. They got pressure on Brady. I think they had 2 or 3 sacks at least in the first half. I know some of that had to do with Tristan Wirfs getting hurt, but the defense held them in the game. A couple of field goals, punts, 3 and outs, getting the Eagles the ball back, and they just weren't able to make stuff shake. I know Jalen Reagor had a muff punt when they would have got the ball at midfield later on in the second quarter, but the Eagles just made mistakes, and you can't do that in a playoff game. But Jalen Hurts, he had a solid season, proved a lot of people wrong. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but I didn't think he would last this entire season. He did, and he showed strides, so I give him credit for that. But it was just tough. He had a tough outing in his first playoff game. It showed this game wasn't even that close. The 15 points, as we obviously know, they were down 31-0. These are all garbage time points. But the way their defense played, if Jalen Hurts would have played better and made some throws, I felt like he was holding the ball, just not anticipating as much as he should and waiting for guys to come open. Just working on that deep accuracy in the offseason will help him out because there were some throws to be made that he just didn't make, and other quarterbacks I feel like would have made. So they had opportunities to stay in the game, but that's what that's what inexperienced teams do in the playoffs. So shout out to the Bucs, but it's a dominating game overall.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, you kind of segue into our something or nothing for this topic or this game rather. But Jalen Hurts, it's young, but he's been named the starting quarterback for 2022. Like you said, a few people didn't expect him to last the entire season. A few people have questions and probably still have questions about him going into next season. But they've named and secured him, as the starting quarterback for 2022. Did bring him to the playoffs this year. A lot of people weren't expecting the Eagles to do too much this year, but all in all, they got to where they were, even though they got blown out. Or not by score didn't get blown out, but obviously by Washington they got blown out. But what do you think? Is it something or nothing that he's been named the starting quarterback already for 2022?
I'm kind of in the middle. It's not a shocker. Because, I said what I said earlier, like a couple minutes ago, about how I felt before the season. But the Eagles saw what I saw, the strides. He was doing better seeing the field, not locking in on his first read, getting to the second and third progression, stuff like that. Just the progress he made over the season. He led them to the playoffs. I know they're number one rushing team, but they got to get better on passing. But, that'll come over time. You got to be patient. And I think he showed them enough to where with all these assets they have, these draft picks, they can build around them. Eventually, maybe you're going to want to get better at the quarterback position. But as of now, like that's not a glaring need. Like if he was turning over the ball, fumbling, 10 more picks than touchdowns, like a complete disaster. Okay, you go get a quarterback. Or you do something to make a move, get somebody, trade with somebody to get a quarterback. But he showed them enough to where, he has another year, and I think that's well-deserved.
Yeah. Same here, like you said, he definitely made strides throughout the season. I mean, he started the season off with a bang. He torched my Falcons. But like you said, there was games here and there where, he didn't play that great up to par. But like I said, overall, he started to get better, towards the end of the year, like you said. Get better with his read, better with his progressions, better knowing when to pull the ball down and, extend the play or, run to get that first or whatever the case may be. And like you said, did lead him to the playoffs. There are spots that can get, like you said, probably get a little bit better at before upgrading that quarterback spot. And like you said, at least another year, I feel like he's at least deserving, of that, especially showing or at least getting them to where he did get them, which is, a playoff berth, which nobody was expecting them to be at anyway at the beginning of the year. So definitely is a shout to him. Like I said, hopefully he does something with the opportunity. And who knows? Like I said, maybe he's their quarterback of the future. But moving on, next game, we're going to hit on last game of the wild card weekend. One that we were expecting to be a pretty good game because it was, obviously a divisional matchup, also, wild card matchup. And Cardinals have been pretty good, dominant all year. So had the Rams in their respective, conference. But, this one was pretty dominant from pretty much start to finish. And the Cardinals just didn't look like, a great team. They hadn't been looking like a great team, the end of the year, but it's in this one especially, the Rams dominated from start to finish and on both sides of the ball. So what did you think about this matchup? And were you, I guess, disappointed with the results that, was the game?
I agree with everything you said. It was kind of dominating from start to finish. And, yeah, I was a little disappointed. It was a divisional game, third time going at it. I mean, I guess both divisional matchups were pretty ugly, but I don't know, man. I was just shocked. I wasn't shocked, though, because, first time in the playoffs, like I said again, Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, first time being in. Jitters on both sides. Because I felt like Kyler, I know he's fast and really twitchy, but he was playing a little bit faster. He was speed. They sped him up. The Rams sped him up, or he was playing sped up, which means he was a tad bit nervous. And, I guess it's like that with the first playoff game, but it was over. Matthew Stafford didn't even have to throw the ball like that. Like, the Rams ran the ball, well, including him, 38 times, including Neil Downs too. But I don't know, man. It was just a rough watch. I tried to stick the whole game out. I did, but it was just like the Cardinals couldn't get anything going. Like, at one point in the game, Odell had more passing yards than Kyler Murray in the second quarter. So just a rough outing overall for a very, very talented player. I know Kyler will be back. Hopefully they can be back in full throttle next year with D-Hop. He was injured. Zach Ertz was a great addition, so I feel like they can build on that going into next year with the other weapons they have. But it's a disappointing performance, and Rams look scary, man. Like, when you got Aaron Donald going, Von Miller, showing signs, and then their offense is their offense. So it's gonna be rough next week. I know that for sure. But disappointing game, like you said, man. But a good dominating win for the Rams to close out Wild Card Weekend, and good to see Odell.
Yeah, I was about to say something. I didn't add it, but something or nothing. Him getting PD tested before or after his performance on that game.
I really didn't even know that. That's kind of disrespectful. Like, he didn't even go off. Like, this isn't even vintage Odell.
Exactly.
It's a little disrespectful, but yeah. I mean, I know he passed that. I know he's not taking drugs for what he didn't even have 100 yards. I know he completed a 40-yard pass and had like 4 catches for like 60 yards. But yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, I figured. I was saying I was talking about it with somebody at work. I was like, yeah, it is a little disrespectful because they said I was like. He ain't taking no performance enhancing drugs. It's like he was just in Cleveland and Baker was just his quarterback. Like there's no reason for that, but you know how the NFL do. But like you said, just it was gonna. I would say it's good to see the Rams kind of get back to old ways, dominant fashion. Like I said, playoff time. They look like they're clicking on all cylinders on both sides of the ball. So it's gonna be a tough matchup this week. Facing the defending champions in Tampa Bay Bucs. So. I don't know. I'm picking this one. I know who I want to win, but put on my thinking cap and really go with who I feel like is going to win. But something or nothing, just to end this one out. Cliff Kingsbury, he had been talked about a little, being on the hot seat a little bit. Last year, obviously with the way they ended out their year, they were supposed to make the playoffs last year, didn't make it. This year they ended up not squeezing the playoffs, but they made the playoffs, but ended the year not so great of a fashion. And then. Obviously end up getting blown out in the playoffs by, one of your division rivals. So something or nothing, do you think Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat? Do you think they possibly let him go depending on how they start off next year? Or, that's their that's their head coach for the future?
Potentially. I kind of think it's nothing. I know they've collapsed a little bit, towards the end of his 3 seasons there, but I feel like as a head coach, he's gotten better every single year. I think his play calling sometimes is questionable. Everybody's going to question people's play calling. But I think he's one of the guys that will kind of bring the best out of Kyler. He knows him best. So I think it's good to have him around. I think it's nothing. The late season collapses are a cause for concern. I've said something about it in the past, but I think as a head coach, he's gotten better. He got this little smell of the playoffs that they can build on and get a playoff win or 2 next year, see what you got. But I don't think he pulled a plug early because I know he's had 3 years, but it's been better. It's not like they've gotten worse as a franchise, as a team. They got some players over there, so I would give it a shot. And it's his first playoff game, like I said. Everything's not going to be perfect. So, but if they start out like 0-4 next year, which they won't, but if they do, I could see them pulling the plug. But I think he's safe to stay for another year.
Yeah. I think so. I hope so too. Like you say, that is a little bit of concern. Hopefully, they do figure out them late season woes, especially how much talent they do have over there. I know they were sampled by a few injuries. Beginning of the year, middle of the year, DeAndre coming back, kind of hobbled. Obviously, TJ Watt coming back, for this playoff game. So hopefully, if they stay healthy, like you said, and he sharpens up on his play calling, and they come out better. Because they're, Seattle, I guess, will have some questions. But outside of that, 49ers, they had 3 teams in the playoffs this year. So that division is not getting any weaker. So you just have to improve, from a coaching standpoint and player standpoint. Everybody has to be, on their P's and Q's. So you said, I could see them possibly, like you said, if they start rough on 4-5 start, like maybe rumblings of it, I think it would be a little bit foolish to pull the plug. I feel like you would need to go through a whole season, especially him being a young coach. And like you said, the team improving each and every year since they've gotten there, at least record-wise. So hopefully they figure something out. He can figure something out, like I said, because that division is not getting any easier by any stretch of the imagination. But moving on, finished up Wild Card Weekend. Now we're about to transition over into the NFL Divisional Round. And then the show in about a week and a half. But to finish out the regular season, I think I went 9-7. You went 10-6. And then playoff-wise, I lost my 1 game. I picked the Raiders to beat the Bengals, which, I guess wasn't foolish, but, obviously they lost. And you went perfect 6-0. So right now, the Pick'em Challenge, it's almost neck and neck, only down the game now. But, yeah, that's how it's shaping up so far. So we got to do something because, like I said, I feel like playoff losses are a little bit more extreme than just regular season losses. But I'll figure it out by next week. But to move on, so what the playoff picture looks like right now. Got pretty good matchups. I think we won't have a repeat of wild card weekend. I think all these games should be pretty close and pretty competitive to say the least. But I guess we can start with top left, Tennessee Bengals 1-4. What do you think about this matchup, and who do you got winning it?
This is a tough one. Like I said earlier, I just feel like the Titans are coming back, getting all the guys back, and the Bengals, their defense is okay. They flash, but is it gonna be enough to stop King Henry? I don't know how many touches he's gonna get because this is his first time. He just had a padded practice for the first time in months earlier this week. So we'll see. But I just don't. I think this great season for Joey B and them, comes to an end. They have a lot of promise. The AFC is gonna be tough because there's a lot of good young quarterbacks over there. But I think they find a way to put up some points, but it's just not enough. And I think the Titans squeak out a close victory. But, a lot of seasons we see these teams, number one seed had a great season and then they just fall flat. But I believe in the Titans. I watched them, obviously for years. We play them all the time, and they're just a hard-nosed, tough football team. And I think Mike Vrabel's going to have his guys ready to go, even though they had that week off. And I think that A.J. Brown and Julio Jones make a couple plays on that secondary to, keep them alive. So I'm going to go 31-27, Tennessee.
Yeah. I can see it being high scoring as well. Like I said, we both said both defenses, they're not world beaters. They're decent, but they're, not number one, number two, number three rated defenses overall. And like I said, the offense is what really carries, these teams. But, I think, like you said, I think what's going to separate it is like just experience coaching for the Titans. And like you said, just they had a great season, but I think it's just not their time yet. A little too young. I feel like a key play or two may happen, for the Titans on the defense side of the ball. Whether it's a turnover, a key stop, and like I said, Titans are just getting healthy right at the back healthy at the right time. It's been a real weird season because although we do give Walker a bunch of shit, like they have dealt with a bunch of injuries, a bunch of people in and out. They've lost to the Jets. And we was destroying them that week, but they all in all they're the number one seed in the AFC conference. They have played great, pretty good football, and they found ways to win. And I just think they do it again this week. I think it's gonna be high scoring as well. I'm gonna say like a 34-31 type scoreline, or like 38-31 type scoreline, something like that. With the Titans winning for sure. So that's what I think. That's what I'm gonna go with. Hopefully it happens. Hopefully it doesn't. I don't really know, because I would like to see who would you like to see? Would you like to see the Bengals versus like a I don't know who you're gonna pick yet, if it's the Chiefs or Bills, but would you like to see like a Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes type of duel out with like just the weapons that's on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I like to see him running back.
Oh yeah, I forgot, because the Bengals didn't end up winning.
They just played
like week 16,
week 15, and the Chiefs were blowing them out, and they end up coming back. So yeah, that's true. So yeah, I would like to see that matchup as well. But I guess moving on, Kansas City versus the Bills. Like I said, I won't say it's the best game of the week, but I feel like from an offensive standpoint, it could possibly be the best game of the week. But who are you gonna go with in this one? I do think it'll be the best game of the week. Offensively, a rematch of a Week 5 game, if I'm not mistaken, where Buffalo completely dominated them. But the Chiefs had some people out. Chris Jones, the Melvin Ingram trade didn't go through yet, and they still had Daniel Sorensen starting at safety because he gets picked apart by everybody, and he has the longest leash of any safety I've ever seen in the league. Maybe one of the coaches is dating his mother or sister or something crazy, but I don't know how he's still playing on the roster. But a lot of new guys in new positions, and the defense has just been a different monster since then. I've always believed in the Chiefs. The Bills were flawless last week. They played well on offense and defense. But I'm just a believer in, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. And I feel like they're going to remember this. They got smacked in the mouth at home on Sunday Night Football. I know the Bills remember the game from last year in the AFC Championship, but I just feel like Mahomes will, be able to control the clock, make a lot of plays, obviously, because he's a playmaker, but their defense will, not make it as easy as they did last time for Josh Allen. They'll get a strip forced fumble by Melvin Ingram or Chris Jones or maybe Frank Clark. He always shows up during the playoffs, or just one timely turnover, and the Chiefs will just be ready to show up. I think, as long as it doesn't snow, it's Kansas City. It's a Sunday night game. I'm gonna take the Chiefs in a shootout as well. I'm gonna go 38-30. They win them by 8 and a touchdown and maybe a little bit. I know the Bills have had a great season. I wouldn't be mad at. I'm gonna say this: the winner of this game, whoever wins, even if I'm wrong, is going to the Super Bowl out of these two teams. I think they're gonna beat Tennessee, but wouldn't surprise me if Buffalo won. They looked great last week on offense and defense, but I just think the Chiefs are gonna remember that Week 5 matchup and make some more plays. They've heard all the noise all season how they're not the same team anymore, and they're ready to shut the haters up. So I'm gonna go Chiefs by 8.
Yeah, I can see it as well. Like obviously, the Week 5 matchup, and obviously they got in mind the matchup going back to last year when they lost in the conference finals. Everybody remembers Diggs looking out from the tunnel, looking at them celebrate and everything on their field. So it's definitely one I know they're going to take personal. Like you say, I believe the same thing. Whoever wins out of this game is going to go to the Super Bowl, hands down for sure. So I don't know. It's a tough one. It's so tough. But I think Kansas City, like I said, pulls it out as well. I'm expecting like a college football score, to be honest. It might get in the 40s. I mean, like say like high, like 41-38, something like that. Kansas City. I feel like Jared McKinnon having a pretty good game last week. Obviously, I think Kansas City is just a little bit more. I don't want to say a little bit more balanced because they're obviously a pass heavy offense as well. But I think if they had to run, I think they would be a little bit more successful running the ball than the Bills. Only because we've seen them do it as of late, but the Bills still, like I said, they're pass heavy. We know who's running the ball if they do really need those yards. Obviously Josh Allen, but this one's probably gonna be just like the Tennessee and Bengals game. It's gonna be whoever's defense takes, steps up and has a takeaway or a key stop. Obviously, I think these two teams' defenses are a little bit better or have been playing a little bit better as of recent. But I think it's going to be the same thing. Offense is going to go crazy, but whose defense is going to come up with a timely stop? So I'm going to go KC 2 by 3, 41-38. Definitely whoever wins this one's going to be the Super Bowl representative for the AFC. But Green Bay, San Francisco should be a pretty good game as well. I know Green Bay, they're probably looking at chops at this one too. Was it 2 years ago, I want to say?
Yep.
49ers, yeah. 49ers just embarrassed them in the NFC Conference Championship. So who you got winning this one?
This is my toughest pick of the week. Like I would say the Chiefs and Bills would be, but I'm a believer in the Chiefs, so it made it a little easier. But this is a tough one. These two teams, it's another rematch. All these games are rematch besides the Tennessee game, unless they played this year. I don't think they did, if I'm not mistaken. But a rematch of a game that went right down to the wire on Mason Crosby walk-off. I just think I know the 49ers are the scariest matchup. Like I know the Packers didn't want to play them, and the Packers run defense, in the back half of the season had been the best, and Kyle Shanahan will take advantage of that. But I just think there's no way that, that everything that happened with last year, the drama going into this season, that the Packers that ended like this. I just don't feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to let it happen. They're going to remember that game from 2 years ago because they literally ran them off the field. Like Jimmy G I think he threw less than 10 passes that game. They didn't even we're just going to, you guys are soft. We're just going to run it right at you. Yeah. And most of it went crazy. But I think Aaron Rodgers, Jai Alexander's coming back. I think they get Preston Smith back. They had the week off, so I'm 95% sure that he's going to be ready to go. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just going to be clicking. It's going to be rocking at Lambeau. I know Jimmy G can play in that weather, but I don't know, man. I feel like the stuff he did against the Cowboys, you can't do against, the Packers. All those field goals you settled for last week, you can't. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is going to put up touchdowns to counter those, and you're not going to be able to keep up. So I feel like he makes a couple of mistakes, two picks here and there. I know Debo's going to be tough to stop, and Kittle's going to be looking to bounce back after last week, but just feel like Aaron Rodgers will not let this happen. And I'm going to go with them in a little closer of a game. I'm going to say 31. I'm going to say 27-20. 27-20.
Yeah. I was going to go with that same scoring line as well. But like you said, yeah, that for San Francisco side of things, like they can't settle for field goals because Green Bay, they're always putting up touchdowns. If not, they're right there. And they'll obviously rely on Mason Crosby to give them the 3, but more than likely Green Bay's putting up touchdowns versus field goals any day of the week. So I expect it to be a good game, a close game, like you said. But it just feels like it's just one of them years. It does feel like Aaron Rodgers just gets back to the Super Bowl for some reason. If not, at least the conference finals. I'm hoping, expecting the Super Bowl, but I just don't see it. See them just getting bounced like this, like you said, against the 49ers. Their defense obviously is a little bit better than what it was 2 years ago. At least their run defense is for sure. And like you said, they're getting very, very key guys back on that side of the ball as well. So they should be ready. They should be set to go. And although it will be a close and a difficult matchup, like I said, the 49ers are clicking at the right time. Both sides of the balls. Obviously, Debo's been a monster all year. Jimmy takes care of the ball. Obviously, the outfield work for them. And then their defense, that front seven is still scary. One of the scarier front sevens in football. So it's going to be a tough, tall matchup or tough, tall task for the Green Bay Packers. But I think they can do it. And it just feels like one of those years where you just can't bet against A-Rod, who we think should be the MVP this year as well. So I think they should get it done. And I'll say 27-20 as well. But last game, this one's going to be probably the toughest one for me to pick. Bucs, LA. Who you got winning this one?
Another rematch. The Rams came out on top early on in the season. The offense was just too high-powered, and Brady had a long day. I think I hate picking against the GOAT, but I'm going to pick against them. I'm going to take the Rams in this game. I feel like, they're going to carry that momentum from the first matchup. And with Tristan Wirfs being hampered and Ryan Jensen, his center, being hampered, it's going to be tough. I know Jensen has a better chance to play, but I don't know, man. They can alternate. They can put Aaron Donald on the outside. Leonard Floyd's already out there, and then you got Von Miller, and they're gonna attack the weaknesses. Raheem Morris has been a DC for a long time, and he's gonna attack the weaknesses of this Tampa Bay offensive line. And one of the keys to any quarterback, but stopping Brady is hitting him, putting him on the ground. He doesn't like getting hit. Rex Ryan used to do that all the time when he was with the Jets. He used to always give Brady fits, and I think with the offensive line being hampered, that defense in that back end will be able to hold up. They don't have AB. They don't have Chris Godwin. I know Gronkowski's Gronkowski, but he's not the same as he used to be. So you can put a linebacker on him to shut him out. And Jalen Ramsey does good against bigger physical receivers, and he usually has Mike Evans' number. So I just feel like overall in this matchup, they have their number. And Matthew Stafford, I know he'll have to throw the ball a little more because they won't be able to run the ball how they did last week. But he's going to make some plays. And I know last year the Bucs young secondary stepped up, but I think they're gonna struggle with Cooper Kupp and Odell. So I'm gonna take the Rams in a close one, and I'm gonna go 28-24.
Yeah, I feel it. I know I didn't do this on purpose. Like we're gonna have the same picks.
No, we're good, man. We still got next week.
Yeah, I was gonna say but one obviously it just has a lot to do. Like I don't like Tampa and I don't like Brady, but a lot of it also has to do with. A lot of points that you made, obviously, two of his key offensive linemen possibly being out or at least being hampered, and of course, they're going up against probably one of the scariest, if not the scariest front four in football, with three, at least two for sure, Hall of Famers, but three, all pro type players, on that line. So, they're going to have a lot to deal with, obviously, keeping Brady upright. And, Brady just doesn't have his weapons like he's used to. Chris Godwin, like you said, is out. Even their running backs, Leonard Fournette, even like little check downs, Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones aren't there either. So, he's dealing with his second, third, best weapons in the backfield. And obviously Mike Evans and Gronk is there, but dealing with Rashad, like Perryman and Johnson, Scotty Miller, like that's not I'll bet against the Rams defense being able to kind of keep them in check for the most part. So. It's just going to be a tough overall task for them. Like you said, if the Rams are clicking on all cylinders, especially on the offensive end, like they were last week, it's going to be, a tall task for the young Bucs secondary. They've stepped up in key situations, even going back to last year. Obviously, they're a big reason why, they won that game or won the Super Bowl. But, I feel like I said, Matthew Stafford, he takes care of the ball. You have Kupp, you got Odell, you got Van Jefferson, you got Higbee. And Cam Akers is back. Had him a great game as well. I don't know what type of human he is. Like I don't know how you come back and are able to play in the same year that you're tearing Achilles
in July.
Yeah, in July too. It was like the later part of the year, so it's like that's wild in itself. But I think they just haven't. Obviously they're a more healthier team, and I think they just have guys that can stop. Obviously stop Brady or stop that Tampa Bay offense, and then on the other side of the ball, they got guys that can, make plays for them against that Tampa Bay defense. So I think they pull it out as well. I'll say like 31-24. They'll win by a touchdown. And march their way on to play Green Bay or San Francisco in the conference final. So.
And real quick before we end everything, I will say this: if the Bucs O-line doesn't hold up, I could see it getting ugly. Like I'm just being positive and saying that Tristan Wirfs or Ryan Jensen will get to finish the game. But if they don't finish the game or they're like 50%, it could get ugly.
Yeah, for sure. Like in a quickness too, like I say, because they need those guys, in order to stop Donald, Floyd, and and geez, I forgot his name. Donald Floyd and Von Miller. Yeah, you need them type guys. So yeah. But I said that does it for today. I know we'll probably maybe have off the ball network show or some other show before Saturday hits, possibly talk about it a little bit more in depth. But before we do get out of here, I think we both kind of have like the same grind my gears little portion. But I'll let you definitely close out and finish out the show. But what grind your gears this week, Dad?
I don't want to be that guy. We talked about it though. I'm not a hater. But just the Cowboys fans, the Cowboys fan base, just complaining and stuff, talking about the refs did this, throwing beers at the refs, blaming that one little play on the reason you guys lost. You guys aren't good. You guys got dominated, like physically manhandled, and the game shouldn't have been that close. Any other quarterback, would have ended y'all early. Aaron Rodgers would have beat y'all by 30. But y'all just, a cocky fan base. It feels like they deserve the world. They're not even America's team. They're just overrated. Everything about the Cowboys is overrated. They didn't earn anything. Everything's bought, paid for. Jerry makes them this talked about franchise, but they ain't did anything. They haven't done anything since I've been around on this earth. So, just Cowboys fans. I know I'm not really a hater. My aunt turned me into a slight hater. You guys are annoying, but that's what really grinds my gears. They're just complaining all Monday, Tuesday, Skip, Michael Irvin, just fans. I'm just crying. That's about it, though. What grinds your gears, bro?
Yeah. As I said, it's honestly the same thing, man. I forgot they were showing a bunch of like little pictures and stuff. I think there was this girl crying, like it was like 4 or 6 minutes left, or 4 or 5 minutes left.
They had me dead.
I was like, bro, y'all still have a chance to win, even though, like you said, been saying like they shouldn't have had a chance to win at that point in the game, but they still had a chance to win. They're crying about it, and like you said, they're just throwing himself on the field. I think what they told Dak about it in the press conference, and he was just like, I guess that's good for them, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
like,
said that.
How y'all like I don't know. That's just fake love. Like y'all turn y'all back on them. I know y'all had high hopes. I don't know why y'all had high hopes, but y'all had high hopes of them getting to Super Bowl or at least winning a playoff game this year. But you can't be doing like that type of crybaby type stuff. Just because y'all lose. In the fashion that y'all did lose in. But, like I said, we always got to hear it. I've tried to tune it out as best as I can. But like you said, like just, Cowboy guys, Cowboy fans now. Feeling like they, like you said, the top of the world. Like, I don't know who crowned the America's team, but they've never been that in my eyes, like you said. And they've never had any type of success since I've been on this earth. I can't even remember the 2 years that they had playoff wins, but I do know they both were when Tony Romo was playing. That's all I can tell you. I'm pretty sure there may be.
They beat
wrong on that.
They beat the Lions.
I know it was one year they beat the Lions, and that's all I can really remember. And that's your playoff win that people remember, the Lions.
Yeah, and I think that game was controversial too, the way they won that. But yeah, they suck, man. They really do.
But at least we don't gotta hear about them until training camp, if at all then. But that does it. Like I said, for today's show, that's what grinds our gears this week. Good things that we got to talk about, wild card weekend, the good, the bad, the ugly of it, and then of course our outlook on divisional round this week. Hopefully we both are right, get a sweep. Hopefully we at least have just competitive games. That's really all I really care about at this point, which I'm pretty sure we'll get because, like I said, they're really, really good matchups, and all of them, but maybe one, are rematches. If not of games this year, very important game, playoff games in the past 2-3 years. So, anything else that we got hit on before we head out?
Nah, man. Shout out to Off the Ball Network and shout out to Built Bar.
Yes, sir. Built Bar. Forgot about that. Definitely visit built.com. Use 10%, or you can get 10% off if you use all caps code Off the Ball. Like I said, they have a bunch of flavors. The bars are way healthier, way better for you than if you go get a Quaker's bar from the store or whatever kind of bar. that you may get, chocolate bar, Snickers bar, Three Musketeers, all bar.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully Jelani can come back in time because he has to end the show. But, I appreciate everybody that tuned in with us, that stuck with us throughout the whole show. Hopefully we have a really, really good divisional round weekend because last week was pretty bad. Only 2 good games out of 6. So, hopefully the guys put on a better performance. But, that's about it for the show. And, Jelani's going to close us out. So I appreciate y'all sticking with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know what's going on. I tap something and it just goes off. But I mean, I guess that's just StreamYard telling us that's our time for the day. But appreciate you, Thad. Of course, always join us. Like I said, shout out to Off the Ball Network and everybody that's over there. Like I said, we may have another show previewing some games before then. And if we do, or if we don't, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.